pjnet.tv, 9:31 on the East Coast, and it's Thursday, and that is the time that we take a trip around the Cross W. Yes, the title, the bumper is rolling. Yes, we're recording. Yes, we are streaming live. Yes, JD is waiting to join us. We'll switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening. Welcome back. For those of you who were with us for the previous segment with Jessica Brody. She is so much fun. It's Thursday night, folks, and about this time we take around the Cross W Ranch, and there's no one better to show us around than the curator, caretaker, steward, and chief executive officer and number one ranch hand, J.D. Wininger. How you doing, J.D.?
Hey, I'm fighting frogs here, Coach. It's great to see everybody tonight. I'm kind of fired up here listening to Miss Jessica. Ain't she a little spitball?
I tell you what, and you know what? She radiates a joy and happiness that makes me proud to say, yep, see, you can be Christians and have fun.
Ma'am.
And you can
yes,
be
sir, I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, and she's old enough to have that maturity, but young enough to have that energy, you know. Remember that? Remember?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I know for you it was a long time ago, you know.
Yes, sir.
Well, JD, I'm going, as much as I would like to hop in and just take over the subject matter, I'm going to let you discuss, to the extent that is possible, the subject matter of your blog this week at jdwininger.com, all about castration.
Well, sir, I prefer to think of it as disposition training, and it isn't the emasculation, but the attitude adjustment that you need to give little bull calves. Everybody thinks of Ferdinand the bull, and of course he's just this sweet, lovable bull, and well, old Maverick is 2,000 pounds, and he'll eat out of my hands and things. Now, he's the daddy, but it's all in how he was raised. Well, as commercial bull calves, they're now between 3 and 6 months old, and they weigh between 350 and 600 pounds. And you don't want them to have a bad attitude. We'll just leave it at that, Coach. So while it took me a little longer than normal to get to it this year, we ended up banding the calves and turning them from bulls into steers. That process, yes, sir, it is a castration, but it's a fairly painless, because what we use is the elastration method, or band, and I promised in my little teaser for folks to join us today, we talked about green eggs and hams. Well, I'm going to talk to you about Cheerios, and I'll get real close to the camera, Coach, but that is a Cheerio. When we go into the farm store and we look at the little girl across the counter, and it's banding time, it's spring or fall, we'll go, we need a bag of Cheerios. And that's what she hands us. And they go in the little tool, and just to basically demonstrate for you, it opens up about like that.
I was going to say, I hope that opens up, because that'd be kind of painful.
and that goes over a particular anatomical part of the bull calf, and it constricts down to, again, a little Cheerio size. And what that effectively does is it stops the blood flow to that particular set of organs. And of course, what happens when there's no blood flow? They atrophy and they fall off. So basically, between 1 and 5 weeks after you've banded a calf, you end up in, if you look between their legs, you suddenly see a giant raisin. And you realize this black shriveled up things, and in about week 6, it falls off, and they're none the worse. But the amazing thing that happens is their attitude changes significantly. And that's because their bodies are no longer generating testosterone. And well, every male in the chat room knows what happens. When we're teenagers, we let hormones control the day, and that we do some really stupid things. It's like the old country song, because the chicks dig it, right? I can jump off a building, might break my arm, but it was cool, right?
It was worth it.
Impress
Yeah.
the girls. Well, bulls do much the same thing. They'll butt heads, or they'll bull one another, put their heads down and run at one another and just butt heads and just try to see who can move each other away. Well, all that does is give me a bunch of dizzy calves to have to contend with. And of course, when you get in the middle of things, and then they try to emulate their father, so they'll watch Maverick, and they'll decide, well, I need to go mount Aunt Frances, or somebody. And, you need to dissuade that behavior. So banding them really does gentle them, is the biggest benefit for me, because it makes them safer to be around, because they don't realize I'm grandpa. I'm the old guy that takes care of them. They just know I'm the guy that brings the feed, and they want to get to that feed. So they can be kind of pushy and shovey sometimes. So that helps to gentle them and settles them down. In fact, right now I've got two of them that when I go out in the morning, they'll wait at the gate for me, and they'll eat out of my hands now. Before I banded them a few weeks ago, that just wasn't going to happen. They'd run away from me, and sometimes run into me if I got between them and what they wanted. So that's a big benefit. The other benefit is it makes the meat. This is what God made cows for, is to be consumed, and it makes the meat much sweeter. And the last benefit of banding bull calves, or creating steers, is it causes them to gain more weight. So on average, they'll gain about 15% more than a bull will. Part of that might be because they're gentler and they're not running around
they're
back
burning
and forth
fewer calories,
just trying to mate, right? Running to and fro. But so they don't run the calories off as much. But I got thinking about that when we got through the process. Of course, I was thanking God that everybody was safe. Nobody got kicked in the face, or the 600-pound, my 600-pound bull calf, Giuseppe, didn't, when he sat down in the alley, he didn't sit on my friend's hand or something and hurt him, or didn't get kicked in the face. So everybody accomplished the procedure safely. And then I got thinking about it, and I said, boy, it's funny, because how they gentle and things like that. Same thing happened with me when I was saved. And that sanctification process that we Christians go through, I became less aggressive and safer to be around too, after I found the Lord. And, I got thinking about that. I thought about my actions or my works, the things that I do, and I realized that I've become a little kinder and gentler. Now, part of that is just old age, Coach. Let's admit it. We slow down. We're not as sparky as we used to be. But I'd like to think that the quality of my fruit has been increased. And God has helped to make me, by gifting me or blessing me with these fruits of the Spirit, like kindness and gentleness and things, and self-control, that they become sweeter. And God can use me. The old adage, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, I think applies, right? And if I come on just hard in your face, I'm an ex-special forces soldier, right, then that turns a lot of people off. And what I think makes my testimony most effective is to people that knew me before Christ, or BC, and they see the person I am now and the person that I was 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and they go, this can't be the same person. And you're right, I'm not, and let me tell you why. And, that's the door is open and off you go. But I really got looking at that and I was thinking about that. Of course, a big part of that is, my steers won't live forever, right? They're going to end up in the freezer department. But my works will, my investments in eternity will live forever. So then I really started thinking about that, and I remembered the Bema seat or the judgment seat of Christ. And I realized that all the works that I'm doing down here on this earth are investments in eternity. Some of those are very good investments, and they'll pay wonderful dividends because I did them in God's name for His glory. Right, Coach? Other things I did because it made myself look important or be more important to somebody else, or I took credit. And a lot of these behaviors were BC, before Christ. But, yes, my team accomplished something, but I got the credit for it because I was the boss, right? Mm-hmm. And those kinds of actions, when I face that judgment seat of Christ, it's not about my salvation. I'm saved, Coach. I'm safe, right? I'm home in heaven. But they're going to be burned up because they had no heavenly value. They had no impact for the kingdom. In fact, they hurt the kingdom. And so when I received any of the 5 crowns that I may receive, and the jewels and the rewards that Christ says He's bringing with Him upon the rapture, when I received those, after I faced the judgment seat, Coach, what's going to be left? And my biggest worry, my biggest concern as a Christian is that I stand there at the end of the judgment seat of Christ, and this isn't the great white throne judgment, where you go to heaven or hell. I'm safe in heaven, but I don't want to stand there empty-handed, Coach, and have nothing to throw at the feet of my Savior. When I look at all that He's done for me, Coach, and I'm standing there with nothing. So I'm sorry, Lord, but I did nothing for you. I don't want to be that guy standing in that position, Coach. So it's important to remember why we do the things that we need to do. As Christians, we need to make sure that we do them for God's glory and not our own. And I thought that was an important part of the message. But it's kind of tough working banding and things into a Christian conversation. But God showed me how it was very much like the sanctification process, right? He turned, just like banding transforms my calves into more gentle, submissive, more profitable animals for my ranch. God's sanctification does the same things for me. I become more gentle, more submissive to God, and I become more profitable in heaven because I add greater value to the kingdom as one of His children. Hope that makes sense to you, sir.
It does, JD, and the Christian life, especially in working in men's ministry, there are ironies or paradoxes, I don't know which to call it, but men are typically testosterone poisoned,
Sure.
and we like to hunt, kill, we like to win, we like to be victorious, and it's hard to explain to a man that the secret to victory is surrender. It's hard to, because that to them would be about the same as banding. Oh, that aggression, that competitiveness, that the things the world values. It's hard to give those up in seek of victory. It's a difficult concept or abstraction for men to get their heads around. I meant to ask you, does the pitch of their voice change when you...
Oh, no, sir. They still bellow and bugle about the same song.
Okay.
They don't get any more high pitch, that's for sure.
Okay.
But to your point about talking with men, especially men of a certain ilk, as you call them, testosterone poison fellas. Uh, it's tough to, what am I giving up? I can't give this up. That's who I am. Uh, but until they can understand that you gain so much more than you surrender when you give your life to Christ, until they can see that, until they can understand that, and we can make that real to them. I look at my first marriage and second marriages, and I look at the differences and the benefits. They were both fine ladies, don't get me wrong here, Coach. But I look at how much satisfaction and pleasure and contentment that I've gained in my marriage to Miss Diane than I did in my first marriage. And it's a difference of night and day. And how much of that is because I'm a very different man than I was in my first marriage. I'll be completely honest with you. Yes, I was a good provider and things, but I was focused on building a business, not raising a son. I was focused on making a business success and having a successful career in my 20s and 30s. I wasn't thinking about what legacy am I leaving behind for my family at the time. And all of those things makes a difference in how we think. And all of that came about because of the work that Christ has done in me.
JD, before we wrap it up, that worldly worldview, that pagan worldview that focuses on achievement, focuses on victories, focuses on success and competency and things like that. Those, by the way, are not bad qualities. But those qualities tend to guide us in how we identify ourselves. Our self-esteem, our self-image, our identity is wrapped up in achievement. And this can actually pervade our after Christ experience because we're still in the flesh and we want to work for God. We want to work for the kingdom. And JD, I'm not a writer, but you write, that's work, and you're dedicated and you invest time in it. We produce these programs and you can get caught up in the work. And you can say, and then you look at the scoreboard and say, enough people aren't visiting my blog, enough people aren't watching my YouTube channel. I'm a loser. You begin to evaluate your kingdom work from a pagan point of
worldly viewpoint. Yes, sir.
And I have to remind myself, I love what I do, and I the reason I do this is I want to make an impact for the kingdom. But I have to remind myself, JD, if nobody watches this, I'm going to do it anyway. Because
that's exactly right, Coach. And
my reward's
it's the
coming
same way with
there.
my blogs or my books or whatever. We have to remember who we are in Christ, not who we are in the world. And God doesn't keep a scorecard, Coach, and that's so important to remember.
What's a pass-fail test?
Something I wonder. I'm sorry, sir.
It's a pass-fail test. He doesn't grade us.
Yes, sir. Exactly. And we pass the test when we said yes, Lord. Exactly. But it's not about keeping score. It's not about who gets the most points, right? It's what impact will we have in heaven. And I am here to tell you, Coach, that there are some writers out there that have hundreds of thousands of people in their platform or within their target audience or whatever they call it. And they could be wonderful writers, but they're making very little impact in God's kingdom. And I may not see those kinds of numbers in my ministry platform of Christian writing. I may never see those numbers, Coach. But what I know is, and what I always remind myself is, I'm not winning or losing down here. I'm just the farmer, Lord. I'm just your farmer. I'm planting seeds. We don't know how those seeds are always going to grow. And we'll never see sometimes on this earth. But when we get up in heaven, we're going to see so many people, Coach, that remember I watched your PJNet program on August 27th of 2020. And you said something, Coach Prashek, and it just stuck with me, about how I was testosterone poisoned and I'm keeping score and had to win at everything. And boy, that really struck home with me. And you know what? That changed my life. Now, ain't that going to feel good when you hear that, Coach?
It would, JD, but
yes,
it is hard,
especially. You may never see that follower here. You may never get that huge following in those meganormous numbers that define success here in the world. But the impact that you've made in heaven, even if it's just one person, that's what counts. It's the impact that we make in heaven, not the waves that we make in this world, Coach.
A little lesson that I learned in my trip to Alabama Monday that I'm still kind of reeling from, but we won't take that detour. But I was speaking with one of the speakers there, and he made a point to me that I have never thought of. He says, when you do this internet ministry, he said, sometimes you just don't know the fruit. He said, when you have a congregation in a building, there it is. Or there it isn't, whatever the case.
Yeah.
He said, but how do you know on this earth, when you're sending a message out over the internet, how do you know what the impact is? Lives could have already been changed, and the next Billy Graham could come from something as simple as this. We don't know this side of heaven. But I know this, and it's hard. It's a hard lesson, JD, because I'm a coach and I do want to run the score up and I do want to win. And that fuels us boys. And I just never grew up in that sense, I guess. And I'm glad I didn't. But I have to remind myself of, what I'm doing. Is this what God wants you to do, or is this something you want to do for God? I'm going to repeat that.
Yes.
Okay? Is this something you want to do for God, or is this something God wants you to do? I think that's a question that we all need to ask ourselves, and especially this has come true for me in the past few days because I can't get it all done. Can't. It's impossible. But you know me, I'm going to double down. I'm going to stay up all night, and I'm going to do... Well, that's no way to live, JD. Oh, by the way, too much about me. JD, you look great. You sound better. Are you doing okay?
Doing pretty good, Coach. Medicine's working. I'm trying to behave myself more. Miss Diane's got me on a short leash, so I'm doing pretty good. She's taking real good care of me, Coach.
Well, JD, you've really blessed us tonight, and it's always good, and glad we got through without the computer locking up, so we better quit while we're ahead, and always good to, share a few words about castration for, with a Christian message, and I don't know who came up with that idea, probably, well, it doesn't matter, but it does work. Yeah. JD, you've always got a good lesson from the Cross W, and we appreciate you sharing it with us.
Thank you, Coach. Great to see everybody. Thank you for coming. God bless everyone.
God bless. J.D. Wininger taking us on a trip around the Cross W. Always fun to talk to J.D. I enjoy him on the program, and I enjoy his fellowship and his just being a good counselor and good advisor to me throughout the week. Tomorrow night is special on pjnet.tv. Steve Hazards takes the helm, and we start playing. We kind of take a trip down memory lane starting at 9 p.m., but then at 10 o'clock he uncorks my perspective and comments, and it has become quite the sensation, and that starts at 10 o'clock Eastern. I want so badly to share some things with you that are happening. I have had to reconcile myself with the idea that I cannot get everything done on time, and no matter how hard I try. So I have used the opportunity of having torn down the PJNet studio and taken it out. And before just putting it back together quickly, I've actually spent some time beefing things up. We have a lot of assets here that were never deployed because of the hectic, you know how it is. But I look forward to showing you some things. When I say showing you, I mean showing you some things. Because the Eagle's Nest has taken on quite a new look, and it's taking a little longer. Got some new toys coming in. I'm going to send back that toy that we unboxed the other night. I'm going to send it back, and I've reinvested that money in some, new toys. And they are inbound, and everything's supposed to be ready Wednesday. But tonight, as soon as I sign off, we're going to do the highlights. But of course, we have that card that came in. We're kind of running on empty here. I'm going to replace that card in the computer that came in Monday and retool a lot of stuff. Folks, I'm real excited about it. And what we're doing is I've refocused or reinvigorated, I guess, the notion, we're going to take this to the field. When the pandemic hit, all those plans just got, pushed aside. Not only here, but everybody. And I realized that now is the time to gear up. Now is the time to retool. Now is the time to fill up the gas tank. Now is the time to change the oil, put new plugs and coils in there, new points and and get ready, because it's going to end. And we can use this time to strengthen that ability. Can't wait to show you. Okay? I want to tell you. I really do want to tell you. But we'll leave it as a surprise. Folks, it has been a wonderful week here at pjnet.tv in spite of some technical obstacles and difficulties. But you all encourage me and sustain me. And I just love each and every one of you. I hope that you'll come back tomorrow night and just let's have some fun and party a little bit. I'm going to have a long night, but I love each and every one of you. Thank you, all of those who watch this on all the various places that it is played. Before I leave, I'd like to ask you to ask yourself two questions. First, what is the boldest thing that you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And second, when was that? Folks, if we are going to hear those words, well done, my good and faithful servant, we just can't allow ourselves to be satisfied with either answer.